armed forces continue to chase the remaining terrorists in various areas, inflicting heavy casualties among them. The Pope of the Vatican calls for peace in Syria and presents vital solutions to bring peace into the region. More than 5 million students and nearly 400,000 teachers go to their schools at the start of the new academic year. And a catastrophic day for NATO in Afghanistan, with the death of 8 soldiers and the destruction of 6 warplanes. Good afternoon, welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Dania Nizam. More than 5 million students and nearly 400,000 teachers and school officials started the new academic year as the Ministry of Education carried out the necessary measures to ensure the success of this process.
More than 22,000 schools in all governorates opened their doors to receive students of various levels, from kindergartens to secondary schools.
Some students do not want to come to school because of the terrorism, as they say. Others do not give up, and they are back to school today, and I am one of them.
I'm so happy that we are back to school. We are revising now. The Ministry of Education has completed the necessary measures and procedures to guarantee the stability and success of the education process. This includes the availability of textbooks.
I would like to welcome all the workers in the press, as we are working hand in hand. Thanks to your efforts, our tour completed with the head of the Higher Education Office, Dr. Youssef, the chairman of the Teachers Union, the governor of Damascus's countryside, in addition to the secretary of the branch of the Damascus Al-Ba'ath Arab Socialist Party. We choose Damascus countryside for our tour today, and before we started, I conducted all the directors of education in all the governorates, and we are hopeful that there is a rate of attendance that is over 75% in all the schools and governorates.
Students went to their schools defying terrorism and working seriously. This effort is part of the grant project to preserve Syria's future.
The Syrian Arab Army units continue to purge a number of areas and quarters in Aleppo from the armed terrorist groups which committed many atrocious crimes. The terrorists sustained heavy losses. A unit of our armed forces clashed with terrorists disguised in the uniforms of the Syrian Arab Army in Al-Midan. All those terrorists were killed. Another unit of our armed forces liquidated a number of terrorists in Al-Firdos quarter. In Homs, the Customs Department confiscated large amounts of weapons and ammunition hidden in a lorry driven by one terrorist with a woman at the Homs crossroads towards Hama. The weapons included 7 automatic machine guns, 2 sniper guns, and a great deal of ammunition. In Syria and Damascus countryside, a unit of the Syrian Arab Army carried out an operation that resulted in the death of a number of terrorists, including Khalid al-Ujan, Samir al-Kulani, Yunus, Muhammad Yunus, and Muhammad Abdullah. A military source said that army units found in El-Sharak's neighborhood 17 burnt bodies that belong to terrorists. In Zlika neighborhood in Damascus countryside, a unit from the Syrian Arab Army broke into a hideout of a terrorist group. They seized stolen medical equipment and raw material for preparing explosive devices.
The makeshift hospital that was discovered in the Zlika quarter is only one of the sources that is utilized by the terrorists and uncovered by our armed forces in various areas. On the other hand, the mercenary terrorists also destroyed the public and private hospitals in the area that they entered into, and they stole the contents of those hospitals. This is what happened at the Hariri Hospital, which is a private hospital in Yilda, as well as a number of governmental and private hospitals in the city of Homs and Aleppo. The terrorists intended to deprive our people from the medical care and treatment. Medications were also thrown carelessly in neglected corners. According to the statistics of the Ministry of Health, the losses of the health sector until last June exceeded 3,500 million Syrian pounds. The crimes of the terrorists were not confined to the health institutions. They also targeted the doctors and the medical officials, in addition to sabotaging the healthcare centers and the equipments that were being used to treat the citizens free of charge in the areas that were targeted by the terrorist groups.
The Syrian Arab Army carried out an operation that targeted a terrorist group which set barricades at El Saraya and El Turkman neighborhoods in Al Hassan city in Tel Kalach, killing and injuring a number of them. News correspondent in Homs said that the army units destroyed 2 cars equipped with Doshka machine guns and killed the terrorists inside them near Al Ujja Square and Homs countryside. In Tel Kalach, the security forces foiled an attempt by a terrorist group to infiltrate into Syrian territory from Lebanon. The terrorists sustained direct hits and losses while other terrorists ran away into Lebanon. In Daraa countryside, the army units clashed with terrorist groups in the villages surrounding Al-Ajat, killing and wounding many of them. The army also seized weapons and ammunition and arrested a number of wanted persons after breaking into their hideouts in a neighborhood in Daraa. Meanwhile, the terrorist Abdullah Abdel Muhsin Hassan was killed in an explosive device blast that occurred while he was planting the device on Sam Jolan Jlin Road in Daraa Governorate. In Hama, a unit from the Syrian army carried an operation that resulted in the death of Shadi Abbas, one of the most dangerous leaders of armed terrorist groups. Authorities also arrested members of the terrorist group and seized their weapons. Meanwhile, another army unit destroyed headquarters of a number of terrorist groups' leaders in Al-Huwaiji area to the north of Al-Madiq Castle in Hama, in addition to destroying more than 10 cars equipped with machine guns. The Syrian army units also carried out an operation in Shahshabu Mountain in Hama countryside, destroying a number of 4-wheel cars equipped with anti-aircraft machine guns and killed and injured many terrorists. The French journalist Adriana Evangelist has described the Emir of Qatar as the prime Mossad and CIA agent, referring to the fact that he is the biggest traitor in the world. The writer expressed astonishment at the silence of the world at the shameful acts of this Qatari sheikh in Libya and Syria, pointing out that he visits Israel periodically to coordinate his moves with Israeli officials. She added that Al Jazeera channel did not transmit any video about his recurrent visits to Israel because it prefers to transmit false and fabricated information about Syria. In Turkey, 8 policemen were killed and 9 others wounded in a roadside bomb east of the country. The Turkish Anatolia news agency said that the roadside bomb exploded when a police vehicle passed by on the highway of Bingöl Erdrum. Tight security measures were taken in the area. 4 Turkish soldiers were also killed and 5 others wounded yesterday in a blast that targeted a military vehicle southeast of the country. Pope Bendict XVI of the Vatican has stressed the necessity of building basic understanding among cultures and religions through dialogue, peaceful solutions, and the condemnation of violence against humanity. In the Mass in Beirut, the Pope called for giving the Middle East people efforts to serve peace and reconciliation, to enable everybody to live in dignity. He added that we should spread the culture of peace and to encourage tolerance and decent treatment of the weak. He asserted that religious freedom is a basic right for every human being, and it has a social dimension symbolized by building peace. Angry protests and peaceful demonstrations continued in Bahrain against the suppressive measures of the government, which is supported by Saudi troops. 10,000 demonstrators gathered in the western part of the capital El Manama, calling for democracy and constitutional reforms. Oil money, Saudi troops and American and Western diplomatic coverage stood unable to suppress the people from demanding their full rights, whatever the sacrifices. These people deserve the quality of being described as the people of democracy on the World Day of Democracy. Afghani and international officials said that the 4 soldiers who were killed by members of the Afghan police today were Americans. NATO spokesman Brigadier General Günther Katz confirmed that the 4 ISAF members were killed this morning, and said more details were being investigated. In a separate incident, NATO forces have arrested a Taliban militant today who was held responsible for killing 2 US soldiers as their helicopter was shot down in eastern Afghanistan. And now it's over to Vani with our economic news. For more information, you can visit our website on syriaonline.sy. God bless Syria and God bless you all. The new academic year. And a catastrophic day for NATO in Afghanistan, with the death of 8 soldiers and the destruction of 6. War calls for peace in Syria and presents vital solutions to bring peace into the region. More than 5 million students and nearly 400,000 teachers go to their schools at the Star Plains. Chase the remaining terrorists in various areas, inflicting heavy casualties among them. The Pope of the Vatican called our armed forces continue